a K-pop idol, and an attack that shocked the world. But his story doesn't end there. This is the journey of a man who turned pain into strength, fear into freedom, and left a message the world can't ignore. Follow me the end video, because what happens will surprise you, and tell me, what does his courage mean to you? Under the bright lights of K-pop, where flawless choreography and meticulously crafted idols dominate the stage, a figure dares to walk a different path. Imagine the scene. Bright neon colors, exploding stadiums, thousands of voices chanting in unison. Yet, in the center of the storm, a young man stands quietly, almost hidden. His real name is Gotae Seob, but the world knows him as Holland. Unlike many others, propelled by giant entertainment companies and powerful marketing forces, Holland stepped into the spotlight with nothing but his authenticity and individuality. Holland's beginnings were not written in the glitzy offices of Seoul's entertainment giants. There were no secret auditions to groom him for the next star, no high-powered CEOs shaping his image, no filled with mentors guiding his every move. His story begins in the darkest corners of his heart, with a pure and unshakable desire to sing, to perform, to exist without erasing himself. In a society where so many idols sacrifice their true identities just to fit the mold of an industry, take a moment to reflect. In an industry that thrives on the perfect image, where idols are molded into ideals of beauty, perfection, and meticulously constructed illusions, Holland chose a different path. He chose authenticity. And in the flashy world of K-pop, authenticity can be the boldest act of all. While others relentlessly pursue perfection, Holland pursues authenticity. And as many of you know, authenticity rarely comes without a price. Let me ask you this. Have you ever had to carry the burden of hiding who you are just to survive? Maybe at school, at work, or even within your own family. Now imagine having to carry that burden, not in front of a group of people, but in front of an entire nation, a global audience, and an industry built on homogeneity. For Holland, the decision was simple but profound. He wasn't going to hide, even if it meant walking alone, facing rejection, and standing on the fringes of an industry. His first steps were fragile but confident. Without a major label behind him, without a devoted fan base to cheer him on, he released his debut single Neverland in 2018. A song not just about love, but about same-sex love. Do you realize how revolutionary that was? In South Korea, where conversations about LGBTQ+ identity are still fraught, where representation for the masses is largely invisible, Holland stood up and sang his truth. And for the first time, millions around the world heard something. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine hearing Neverland for the first time. Imagine two men holding hands on screen in a K-pop music video. For some, it was shocking. For others, it was cathartic. For countless young fans around the world, it was the first time they saw themselves for who they were. Not as outsiders, not as shadows, but as human beings worthy of love, of music, of beauty. Holland's debut was more than a song. It was a lifeline. It was proof that they weren't alone. And this is where the story gets deeper. Holland didn't just release music, he put courage into the world. Every lyric, every note carried weight, not just for him, but for all the listeners who had been told that their love was wrong, their existence was a mistake. Suddenly, K-pop was about more than just glitz and glamour. It was about survival, resistance, and freedom. And that's what made Holland stand out, not as the loudest voice in the room, but as the most authentic. As you listen, I want you to take a moment to reflect with me. Where are you right now? Perhaps in the heart of Seoul, in the hustle and bustle of Los Angeles, somewhere in Europe, or perhaps in a sleepy town where differences still carry risks. Wherever you are, Holland's story touches you, proving that authenticity transcends borders. It's amazing how music can bridge distances, weave connections across worlds. One man's courage ripples out, touching countless lives he may never have met, but forever inspiring. Holland's journey isn't about chasing fame, but about planting something deeper: change, representation, and hope. He steps forward not with flashy choreography or corporate backing, but with raw honesty. And that honesty is far more powerful than the roar of a crowd. As we close the opening chapter of Holland's journey, I invite you to take a closer look. What lies ahead is a story of struggle and triumph, pain and resilience. How does Holland's courage resonate with you? Does it surprise you, stir something within you, or perhaps reflect your own story? Let's share and reflect, because your voice matters in this conversation. And with that, we enter the of Holland's journey, one where the challenges get bigger, the spotlight gets brighter, and every moment takes on new meaning. Stay tuned, because the story is just beginning, and what comes next will take you deeper into his world. In 2018, a young man named Holland made history with his courage, his honesty, and a song called Neverland. If you've heard the song, you know it wasn't just your typical K-pop debut. It wasn't about flashy choreography, expensive stages, or conforming to what an idol should be. It was about truth, and in a world where truth is often hidden, Holland dared to sing it. The music video for Neverland contains a single moment that has sparked discussions far beyond South Korea: a kiss between two young men. It's only a few seconds on screen, but it carries the weight of centuries of silence. In a country where LGBTQ+ representation is largely invisible in mainstream media, it was revolutionary. It was tender, honest, and his way of saying, "This is who I am." And let's be honest, sometimes it only takes a few seconds to move The reaction? Almost immediately, the video was age-restricted in Korea, limiting its visibility for young audiences. But pause for a moment. How could love, expressed in its purest form, be considered inappropriate? That question resonated among millions of comments. Online forums exploded with heated debate. Critics called it provocative, while fans around the world praised its boldness. And within 20 hours, Neverland had surpassed 1 million views, marking it not just a debut, but a cultural statement. So let me ask you this. If you were in Holland's shoes, would you have the courage to take that leap of faith? To risk it all for a moment of authenticity and undeniable truth? His story is more than music. It's a reminder that authenticity is not just a choice, it's a calling. It challenges each of us to reflect and ask ourselves, how much of our truth are we willing to embrace, no matter what the cost? Because in the end, it's not perfection that moves the world. It's courage. Even his name carries a deeper meaning. Holland is more than just a stage persona. It's a tribute to the Netherlands, the first country to legalize same-sex marriage. By choosing the name, he's not just choosing a name, he's making a statement. I respect the battles that have come before me, and I'm ready to keep moving forward. For fans, the decision is deeply symbolic. Holland is more than just an artist. He's proof that names, music, and actions can all inspire change. And when you think about it, his presence on stage is a quiet force, powerful, enduring, and impossible to ignore. But here's the thing. Every light has its shadow. The moment marked Holland as the first openly gay idol in K-pop history. It should have been a triumph, a milestone for progress. And in many ways, it was. He became a beacon for countless young people who yearned to see themselves on stage. Yet the bold move that elevated him also stirred up a storm. Behind the scenes, applause was accompanied by whispers, skepticism, and doors quietly closed. Many in the industry chose to keep their distance rather than support him, seeing his courage as a risk rather than a reason to stand by him. Imagine standing in a spotlight, millions cheering, millions criticizing, and an entire nation watching your every move. That weight would crush anyone. but Holland carried it with quiet strength. He knew that stepping into that light, he wasn't just carrying his own dreams, he was carrying the hopes of others, many of whom seemed invisible. And that's a pressure no training program can prepare you for. And that's the emotional climax of this story. Holland's kiss in Neverland is more than just a kiss. It's a statement, a hope, a piece of history. It marks the beginning of a new conversation in K-pop, one that cannot turn away from LGBTQ+ voices. For some fans, it's the first time their love has been reflected in an idol's story. For others, it's a call to open their eyes to a truth that's long been forgotten. That's the paradox of art. It can comfort those who feel invisible, but it can also disrupt comfort, forcing the world to confront what it wants to keep hidden. How do you feel about this in Holland's journey? Do you see it as a victory, a gamble, or perhaps both? I'd love to hear your take, because your voice is part of this story. When you share your comments, you're not only responding, but you're also contributing to the conversation that Holland himself started the day Neverland was released. But remember, this is just the beginning. Along with the light of recognition comes the darkness of isolation. As Holland's fame spreads around the world, so does the resistance he faces. And in the next part of this journey, we'll delve into his struggles, his loneliness, and his fight to protect his dream when the world seems determined to take it away. So let me ask you, where are you watching today? And what does Holland's courage mean to you? Share your thoughts in the comments, because this story isn't just about one artist, it's about all of us, exploring what it really means to be authentic, even when it comes at a cost. And as we move into the next, remember this. Every act of honesty has a cost, but it also has the power to shape hearts, inspire change, and leave its mark on history itself. Holland's story is one of resilience, courage, and the quiet weight of a solitary dream. Imagine what it's like to be an artist without the backing of a powerful management company, without the safety net, without the machinery that so many K-pop idols rely on to get ahead. There's no team shaping his image, no shield protecting him from the world. Every step forward, every song he releases, is a battle he fights alone. And when he encounters setbacks, he doesn't give up. Instead, he turns obstacles into motivation, proving that even in isolation, determination can pave a path that no one else dares to tread. Crowdfunding is about more than just numbers. It's about belief. Imagine thousands of hands reaching out, strangers and fans alike, saying, "We believe in you." That moment was proof that even when the gatekeepers of the industry slammed the door shut, people were willing to open the window for him. Imagine Holland sitting at his computer that night, watching the donations pile up. Can you see the tears in his eyes, the disbelief, the gratitude, the overwhelming emotion? One supporter wrote, "Thank you for giving me the courage to accept who I am and keep moving forward, no matter how hard it gets." But despite his fans' love for him, his journey has not been easy. His music, intimate, bold, and unflinchingly honest. Songs like "I'm Not Afraid" and "I'm So Afraid" are more than just melodies. They also contain truths that some people are not ready to face. Instead of embracing his honesty, the system often suppresses it, labeling it as controversial to mainstream audiences. The irony, while countless other artists sing freely about love, Holland's voice has been held back by restrictions, simply because his truth doesn't fit the mold. And when local media ignored him, when critics mocked or ostracized him, the loneliness was even heavier. The burden of being different, of daring to be yourself in an industry built on homogeneity, is heavier than most people can imagine. Imagine walking into interviews that few people asked for, or releasing music that the mainstream refused to acknowledge. Silence, in moments like these, is not just absence, it's rejection. Have you ever been in a room full of people and felt invisible? That's the isolation Holland carries. But instead of breaking it, he's turned it into art that speaks for those who can't speak for themselves. This is where Holland's story comes to a head. He's not just making music, he's fighting for the right to be himself. His very existence challenges a society that isn't ready to accept him. But he stands tall. Imagine a lone figure fighting against a raging river. Every step feels helpless. The current keeps urging him to stop, but he keeps singing. His voice, fragile yet resilient, echoes through. Proof that even the smallest sound can carry hope in a noisy world. And this is the moment I want you to really think about. Holland's pain is not unique to him. It reflects all of us. How many times have you felt abandoned, or pressured to hide who you are just to belong? How many times have you been told to be quiet, to conform, when your heart yearns only to be free? Holland's voice reminds us that even when the waves are crashing down on you, your song still carries weight. And who knows, just who knows, your courage could be the spark that helps someone else rise. Isn't that a truth worth holding on to? So tell me, how did you feel when you heard this part of his story? Did it inspire you, or did it bring back memories of your own struggles, moments where you felt silenced, or times when you found the strength to keep going? I'd love to know. Leave a comment. Where are you watching tonight, and how has Holland's journey touched your heart? Every word you share becomes a part of this story, adding a voice to the chorus. And who knows, maybe someone reading your comment will feel a little less alone, a little braver to keep singing their own song. Think about it for a moment. The power of art to move hearts, to spark conversations, even when institutions try to silence them. That's why Holland's story is so important. It's not just about one singer, it's about everyone who has ever stood on the edge of doubt and chosen to keep going. His struggles remind us that presence has a cost, but it also has a purpose. And maybe you're watching this video because that, no matter how rough the waters get, you have the strength to keep going. And in doing so, you can light the way for others. Because this is just one in his remarkable journey. In the next installment, we'll delve deeper into how Holland turned adversity into strength, and how his music became not just a statement of identity, but a beacon of light for those who needed it most. So stay tuned. And before we go any further, I want to know, where in the world are you listening to music, and what emotions are stirring inside you as you walk with Holland through this darkness, step by step, toward the light of what's to come? In May 2022, under the neon lights of Itaewon, a neighborhood often considered a safe haven for the LGBTQ+ community in Seoul, Holland faced a night that would profoundly shape his journey. What began as a normal evening turned into a moment of hostility, as a stranger confronted him with hateful words, an insult that reduced his identity to something dirty and unworthy. Even in that fragile moment, his determination to be true to himself shone even brighter. That night, Itaewon was not just a backdrop of bright lights, it was also a stage that tested Holland's courage, and his determination to be true to himself shone even brighter. Imagine that moment. An artist who built his career on honesty, suddenly being targeted for that very truth. The incident left him shaken, not only in body, but even more so in spirit. While the physical pain eventually faded, the emotional weight lingered, reminding him of the vulnerability that comes with living authentically. Imagine with me the loneliness of standing on the line between recognition and vulnerability, and the bitter irony of having to endure the very truth that made him a source of hope. This story is about more than just a painful encounter. It reveals what it truly means to be brave in a world that isn't always ready to accept you. Itaewon, a place often seen as a sanctuary, became, in that instant, a reminder of how fragile safety can be. Although the matter was reported to the authorities, the deeper impact was carried within, echoing far beyond that night. And let me ask you, how would you feel if your entire being was reduced to a single insult? If your body was damaged simply for loving the way you love, for existing as you are? These are the questions Holland was forced to confront, and in that moment he shouldered the weight of an entire community's fears. He became something more than a pop idol. He became a symbol of the risks that come with fame and the courage it takes to stay true to yourself. But let's not forget the resilience that defines Holland, because even in pain, even in moments of terror, he chose not to retreat into silence. Instead, this incident exposed the devastating cost of honesty. Yes, but it also reminded the world why his voice mattered in the first place. For every fan who felt invisible, Holland's pain resonated as a warning, but also as a call to solidarity, that no matter how high the price, being true to yourself was worth it. News of the attack spread far beyond Itaewon. Fans around the world took to social media with messages of love and solidarity. Many shared their own stories of harassment, their own scars, some visible, others hidden. Holland's pain became a mirror for thousands to see their own struggles. In that sense, he was never truly alone, even as he lay in his hospital bed. The world was watching. The world was grieving with him. But alongside the sadness was a surge of anger, a question that never went away. How could this happen? How could hatred strike so openly in a place that was supposed to be safe, in a space for love? For a society still learning to accept LGBTQ+ life, the incident serves as a stark reminder of the challenges faced by those who choose to live openly. It's a wake-up call, and that's why this story is not just personal, but cultural. What happened to Holland shows that the journey toward equality is still very much a struggle, even in places we believe are safe. And isn't it heartbreaking to realize that sometimes the very spaces we trust to protect us can be the ones that test us the most? But Holland's journey didn't end with fear. He later spoke out courageously, choosing transparency over silence. He acknowledged his pain, shock, and fear, but he also made it clear that he would not let the attack define him. "I'm proud of who I am," he said, words that carried the weight of someone who had been tested by hate but still chose love. That resilience made him a symbol more powerful than an idol. And here's what I want you to think about. What does it mean to keep showing up, even when the world makes it difficult? Holland's choice to keep going, to keep moving forward, to sing, to love, becomes a quietly powerful act. It shows that trials can shake us, but they can't erase the truth of who we are. And maybe, just maybe, it's courage, not perfection, that sparks real change, not just in music, but in the hearts of people everywhere. So I want to hear from you. Where are you watching tonight? How does Holland's story make you think about the courage it takes to stand firm in the face of adversity? Share your thoughts in the comments, because your voice, your presence, matters. We'll see how Holland turned this dark moment into strength and how his resilience became a light for others. Stay tuned, the journey is just beginning. He never chose silence. From the beginning, Holland bucked the trend of conformity in an industry where silence is safer and perfection often means hiding the truth. But Holland chose honesty. And that choice wasn't just bold, it was transformative. It shaped him from an aspiring artist into a voice the world couldn't ignore. In 2023, Holland released Number Boy. At first glance, it seems like a simple song about heartbreak, about wounds that never fully heal. But listen closely and you'll sense something deeper. Rebirth. It's the voice of a man who has weathered a storm and returned with a fire in his chest. Each lyric is like an open wound, carefully stitched together with hope. And perhaps you felt it too, listening to a song that seems to whisper your own secrets. That's the gift Holland has given through Number Boy. Perhaps the moment that truly shook the world was when Holland revealed he was in a relationship, openly sharing that he had a boyfriend. Not metaphorically, but completely sincerely. And what's more, he talked about his dream of one day getting married. Think about how rare that is in K-pop. A world where love is often forbidden, where idols are expected to live up to some perfect fantasy. Holland shattered that fantasy. He replaced perfection with truth. And in doing so, he gave thousands of fans a sense of freedom, a reflection of themselves that they had been longing to see. And his journey wasn't limited to Korea. He took his music all over Europe. London, Paris, Berlin, where fans waved rainbow flags and sang along to every word as if it were their own story. Imagine being there, standing shoulder to shoulder with strangers, suddenly feeling like family, all united by the courage of one artist. That energy, that wave of familiarity, it wasn't just a concert. It was a statement that love, in all its forms, deserves to be celebrated. Can you feel it right now, just by picturing the scene? The international press saw it too. Teen Vogue, Out, Them, Paper Magazine. They all gave him a title that no one thought possible: Asian LGBTQ+ icon. For decades, the idea of an openly gay idol thriving in K-pop was considered unthinkable. But Holland did more than that. He went above and beyond. He didn't just make music, he made history. The impact was felt like a tidal wave. Young fans wrote to him, "Because of you, I found the courage to come out. Because of you, I believe that love is possible for me too." Imagine what that must feel like, knowing that your courage inspired courage in others, realizing that your struggles were transformed into their strength. It is both a burden that Holland carries and a gift he continues to give every day. And beyond the letters, Holland has sparked a broader conversation in South Korea. For the first time, mainstream media can no longer ignore the voices of the LGBTQ+ community. His message isn't just about identity, it's about humanity. By stepping in front of the camera and refusing to disappear, he's created a space for dialogue where silence once reigned. Even his critics can't ignore him. Think for a moment about the loneliness of those early years, walking into rooms where whispers followed, reading hateful comments that tried to erase him from existence, but still clinging to his music like a lifeline. That's not weakness. That's resilience expressed in every beat he creates. And here's the surprising thing. The same industry that tried to marginalize him now sees him as proof of progress. The outcast has become an icon. Isn't that powerful? When Holland steps on stage, he's not just an idol, he's a role model. Every lyric reflects a truth his fans yearn to see, that they too deserve to be loved, just the way they are. That's why his concerts feel more like family reunions than performances. People cry, laugh, and sing together, not just to honor Holland, but to see themselves through him. Remember this, K-pop has long been built on perfect images, but Holland broke that silence. He showed us that perfect images can't heal, only sincerity can, and through that choice, he redefined the very meaning of artistic freedom. When you watch Holland, don't just look at the artist himself, look at the ripple effect. A girl in Seoul finally speaking her truth. A boy in Brazil stopping hiding his feelings. A teenager in New York daring to dream of pride instead of shame. Holland may sing in Korean, but his message touches the hearts of everyone. So tell me, where are you watching? Does his story leave you feeling understood, inspired, maybe even braver than before? Share in the comments, I'll read it. Because this isn't just his journey, it's our journey. Holland's story has never been about wealth, fame, or headlines. It has always been about courage. In a world where idols are expected to follow a script, He chose to write his own. He stood before the world, vulnerable but resilient, and declared, "This is me." And in doing so, he created something no title can measure, no chart can define, a legacy written in truth and courage. Stop and think about this. How often do we hide parts of ourselves in our daily lives? How many times do we choose silence over truth, dimming our own light just to survive? Holland chose differently. He faced the cameras, the fans, and an industry built on homogeneity. And with calm determination, he said, "I am worthy of love, and so are you." That wasn't just brave, it was transformative. It made history. His life truth is simple yet profound. You deserve to be loved. Love yourself first. It's not an album lyric nor a catchphrase for fans to chant. It's a lifeline, an anthem, a call to authenticity. In a culture obsessed with the perfect image, Holland offers something far more powerful: authenticity. And let me ask you right now, as you listen to his story, what stirs inside you? Do you hear echoes of your own path? Do you feel the hidden spark inside you begin to glow a little brighter? Because what Holland leaves behind is more than just his own. It's a mirror. A mirror for anyone who has ever yearned to be seen, to be accepted. A testament to music that transcends boundaries and touches the heart. Holland doesn't just make music, he creates space. He turns pain into strength, vulnerability into resilience. Every time he takes the stage, he proves that authenticity is not weakness, but the truest form of strength. And that is why his influence will outlast trends and fleeting headlines. When he released Neverland, it wasn't just a debut, it was a statement. A statement against silence, shame, against the notion that love should be hidden. By daring to live his truth, he gave others the courage to embrace theirs. Somewhere in the world, a teenager sits alone, headphones on, afraid to reveal their true self. Then they press the play button on a Holland song. And suddenly, they hear a voice, fragile but unshakable, whispering, "You're not broken. You're not wrong. You deserve to be loved." For the first time, the teenager breathes out without fear. That breath, that fleeting moment of freedom, is Holland's mark. The beauty of Holland's story is that it's not just for those who share his pain, but for all of us. His courage transcends boundaries, because each of us, in our own way, knows what it's like to hide behind a mask. To fear judgment, to be silent. Holland's song remains, "Be yourself, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when the price is too high." So let me ask you, what would change if you stopped hiding? If you took Holland's courage into your life? This isn't just a story about a K-pop idol. It's an invitation to live without regrets. And that's why his message remains so timeless. Long after the spotlight has gone out, his words remain, "You deserve to be loved. Love yourself first." No trend can erase that, because it speaks to the human heart. So tell me, what part of Holland's message resonates with you the most? Does it give you hope? Does it challenge you? Or does it simply remind you that you are never alone? I'd love to hear from you. Share in the comments. Let me know where you're watching and how you're feeling right now. Because this isn't just Holland's story, it's our story. It's about all of us learning to live more authentically, love more deeply, and build a world where no one feels the need to hide. And if Holland's voice has resonated with you, let it serve as a reminder. Your story matters, and the world needs to hear it. Thank you for being here and for sharing this story with me. If it touched you, if it gave you strength or a new perspective, I invite you to subscribe, follow, and continue to support this channel. Together, we will continue to bring powerful stories that leave a mark on our viewers. See you in the next video.